So I want to go through how to create graphs and a pivot table, specifically using monthly data and going through the data points over several years. And the reason for that is lots of people want to see monthly trends over years, whether it's month to month to month from one year to the next, or across years. So lots of times what would happen is you would get a bunch of data and it's in a year, month, and some type of number. So often the case, the number might represent sales, or it might represent expenses, or it might represent even downloads or how many views a website has gotten. So the structure of the data is sometimes kind of very tabular, which is a year here and then the months here and then whatever count it represents. So how do you turn this basically into something that looks like this, with a pivot table that does the kind of totals across per month and also vertically through the years? So, and then actually being able to see the yearly view of it and also the month-to-month view of it. So I'm going to go ahead now, and this is the end result that you're going to see. So I'm just going to go step by step and show you how it's done. So if I go to my Excel spreadsheet here, all I do is really highlight all of the rows, and I'm using Excel 2010 here. Go to the Insert tab, select Pivot Table. So I'm going to do a pivot table, and I'm actually going to say New Worksheet. That looks fine. Just click OK. And I am going to put the year here and the month here. This is actually the this is actually not the right way of doing it, but I just wanted to show you this way, where I'm actually doing it in reverse. And here it's the sum. Now suppose I didn't want the sum, I wanted just the counts. So I would actually highlight that last option there and change. But I actually do want the sum. So I'm just gonna, versus the count of how many times it occurs. So again, it would be this value field setting here. Now the problem with this is if I highlight these and I want to create the graph by going to Insert Graph, you'll see it creates something like this. And notice there wasn't much work there. So it's hard to compare side by side. And if I do the line graph, if I highlight this, you have to highlight the data you want first and then pick the type of graph you want. So you'll notice this is by all the individual months here. So now that's not what I want. So I'm just going to leave this alone here, and I'm going to create another one. So I'm going to go back, and actually I'm going to name these data, and it's actually monthly data, not yearly data. And this is the pivot table by month. Now I'm going to do it the other way now and show you the difference, which is the way I really want it. So again, I'm going to highlight my data, go to the pivot table, and I am going to name this pivot by year. So if I go to my pivot table here and I drag year, over there, I drag month as the rows, and I'm going to drag And again, sometimes I might have to change this to a different value, but I actually want some, so that's kind of fine. Now, if I highlight the data that I want to graph, and I go to the column graph, you'll see it's now separated by month, which is exactly what I want. So I could tell if I hover over it, this is for January and February, so I could see a side by side the 2011 numbers, 2012, 2013 numbers, and again, if I want the line graph of it, I simply highlight the data and select the line graph, and I could see the trends stacked on top of each other from year to year across months. Now I do want to clean this up a little bit, so I might want to name these January, February. So that looks a little bit better. And I don't believe it'll update, and it doesn't. But if I did that and I did this again, the year and the month as the rows. And that's kind of odd that it didn't actually update. Okay, so what I did was I right-clicked and I clicked refresh. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same for these, and it actually turned into the months now. So that's how you do it. And if I go here, you can see now the column headers are also changed. So what I did was I just went to the pivot table and I went to the rows and I just clicked refresh and went from 1 through 12 to January and December. So there you go. If you look at it, that's how my original was, and that's how you can basically look for trends, whether it's downloads or sales or expenses across years, drilling down into the months. So, all right, this is a very common type of scenario and task that people look for. The yearly/monthly type of numbers that people want. Okay, thank you for watching.